Facebook Live with me, Amrita, and today we will be discussing about whether it is safe to dine out at a restaurant or not. As we all know, restaurants have reopened now after months of lockdown. It's a good news for the businesses, but the pandemic is still going on. In fact, it is intensifying, if anything. But a latest survey conducted by Dine Out shows that 86% of restaurant reservations were made by delegates. Moreover, Hyderabad saw families visiting restaurants with 65% of people reserving a table for four, and 58% of the business in August was generated from casual dining restaurants, followed by cafes and quick service restaurants. So we can go by this data saying that people want to go out and eat at restaurants or visit pubs or bars. However, experts are of the view that in such places, the spread of coronavirus is in fact more, and compared to workplaces or any other public setup, pubs, bars, restaurants have more chances of a faster spread of coronavirus than anywhere else. To bring you more information on this, I'm being joined by my colleague Adarsh. Adarsh, first of all, we would like to know about this latest and very interesting study which was authored by Dr. Agarwal, whom you spoke to yesterday, who said that Indian houses compared to that of the Western houses are more ventilated, and that's why there might be a lower number of coronavirus cases as well as mortality cases. This is somehow a little bit related to the restaurants as well, which we will come back again, but do shed some light on what this study was all about.
Well, first up, many thanks, Amrita, for having me on your live session. Yes, it is Unlock 4.0, and as you were rightly pointing out, our favorite hangout spots are now open for visiting. We can all go there and dine in. But yes, as you rightly pointed out, the big question really is as to how safe are these dine outs, how safe are the restaurants, given the fact that the World Health Organization themselves have admitted that coronavirus can be airborne. So given that situation, and given various case studies from the past that have suggested that restaurants which are usually closed spaces and are air conditioned could become a platform for the spread of coronavirus. We've seen cases coming in from China as well as to how a group of people sitting in the stream of an air conditioned system where you also have an infected patient in the way. So what really happens is the air from the air conditioner brings all the infection, the viral load, and yes, it pushes away from the infected person onto the other people who are probably sitting behind or next to the infected person. And in this very way, you've had several cases in China where people who've gone out to restaurants have eventually tested positive. So yes, you were speaking to me about this one particular study which has been conducted by Dr. Shyam Agrawal, which essentially speaks about how when it comes to the Indian subcontinent, we could be registering lesser number of deaths, mortality rate, and also the lesser rate of infection, given the fact that our houses are well ventilated, and also given the fact that our houses do not come with air conditioners, at least most of our houses. So that while we usually crib about not having air conditioners at home, that may as well be one of the most important reasons as to why coronavirus has been kept at bay from many of the houses. So what really happens in a typical Indian house is that it is well ventilated, and obviously it is a little open. Yes, you do have cases where the houses are a little cramped, but let us discount that. If we were to talk about a general household, then the lack of air conditioning essentially means that there is a lot of air exchange that is happening. So whatever virus is generated inside, in case if there is an infected person, it has a way to get out, and that is really what is important, and that is what the study really spoke about, essentially linking the fact that lack of air conditioners and also lesser population. Suppose if a house needs to have only a maximum of 3 to 4 people to ensure that the lack of air conditioning in a sense helps us and works out in our favor. In case if you have too many people, even if it's a well ventilated house, it would not really work in that manner. So yes, houses, we may be living in better houses, but when it comes to restaurants world over, they're all beginning to open up. How safe are they? That really is the $1 million question, Amrita.
Of course, others, like you mentioned, Dr. Agarwal's little observations made about the home spaces that we have. Similarly, here the entire crux of the point is the spaces or the situations that we are engaging ourselves in, especially in the public. And that's why the spaces where restaurants are serving us food, or pubs or bars that we visit, is very much important. Earlier as well, we've spoken to several experts about how closed spaces, close contacts are some of the worst enemies for us with regards to coronavirus, and how the virus can spread real fast in these scenarios. So all of this, Adarsh, once again is about the aerosol transmission, the droplet transmission that we have found a lot of substance also. But do tell us how these restaurants, pubs and bars are distinguished and very much different from workplaces, because workplaces again are also public spaces, but experts won't say that workplaces are more dangerous for the virus spread as compared to restaurants or your pubs or bars.
Well, Amruta, as again we were just discussing, it all boils down to the kind of activity you want to take up, because Unlock 4.0 has really opened up a lot of activities for us, right from let's just say shopping to dining out with your friends. You can now begin to do all of these activities, albeit with all kinds of precautionary measures. But which one of these various activities that are now open the safest for us is the bigger question. Now, when it comes to eating out, that may as well be one of the worst options for us at this point in time, simply because of a couple of reasons that I'd like to tell you. One is that again, restaurants, we're talking about closed spaces. You were drawing a comparison between restaurants and workspaces. Now, when it comes to workspaces, they're usually a little elaborate and are spread across a larger area compared to a typical restaurant. That obviously works out in the favor of a workspace. That apart, when it comes to restaurants, you have not just closed spaces, but you have air conditioners that are there, and they're constantly circulating the same air within that confined space. But what really matters the most when you're dining inside a restaurant is the fact that when you're consuming anything, you simply can't wear a mask. So that essentially makes you a lot more vulnerable than, let's just say, sitting at your workspace and carrying on with your work, because eventually when you're doing that, you're wearing a mask. So when it comes to another activity like, let's just say, shopping, as long as you're shopping outside, maintaining social distancing, you'll obviously be having a mask, and obviously it's going to be an open space, let's just say a market setup. You're slightly better off compared to going out to a restaurant with your friends. Now again, the numbers that you were quoting in the beginning again indicates that people want to go out in larger groups. They don't want to go out in ones and twos. They want to go out at least in four. So it's all again coming down to a family get-together time. So if you have that kind of a situation where a lot of people are crammed in a restaurant, and if the restaurant is not following the kind of guidelines that have been laid down, then that restaurant really is a recipe for disaster, Amrita.
Yes. Thank you, Adarsh, for bringing us all of those details. Like my colleague Adarsh mentioned about a check that needs to be maintained on whether these restaurants, pubs, bars are following the protocols or not is an utmost concern. We do not know whether all of the states, all of the cities have a monitoring system in place to ensure that these public places, they have opened up, reopened, but is there a monitoring system or not? That is not sure, and that is not confirmed, nor is it a rule to have a monitoring system. Some cities may have it, some cities do not have it, so it's not uniform. For example, as well, in Delhi, a lot of dhabas in the outskirts of Delhi turned out to be super spreaders, and these dhabas were also an open space. They were not exactly closed spaces which we find at pubs, restaurants and bars. So keeping all of this in mind, there is a risk of visiting closed spaces, restaurants, bars and pubs, because here we let go of our inhibitions, we let go of we let our guard down. We cannot wear a mask because we are engaged in eating. So do think twice before you visit these places, because this is where you might likely contract coronavirus. You can leave your opinion in the comment section down below. Also like, share and subscribe to News 9 Digital.